What's in this junk box? Well, it's time again for another edition of What's in Steve's Junk Drawer. This is my third video I've done on, 3 different boxes of junk. And so let's get started. Well, the first thing in my junk drawer is this Logitech microphone. And this was a pretty good microphone from what I remember. It's got a USB end on it, and it has a mute button, which is kind of nice. So one Logitech microphone. I think I'll keep that. And here's something kind of neat. This is a Win TV card. This is an old PCI slot, and if you remember from the Windows 98 days, I think in 2000 they also had Windows had a application that you could run called Windows TV, and this is the board that you would use, and you can see that it goes out to the TV here, and then it has line in and video in, so it has 2 ins and 2 outs, and this was an actual TV tuner that you could actually watch TV on your computer, and I bet this would work if you plugged it in right now. So it's kind of neat. Here's an FM radio that I picked up at the dollar store of all places. Look at that, an FM radio. You know, how can you make a radio with headphones? Okay, you get the headphones, you get the actual radio, this is brand new, and sell it for $1. This whole thing was $1, and it even has a light on it. Look at that. I forgot why I bought this, or even, why I wanted it, but for $1, jeez. And it has a radio, FM, or I'm sorry, it has an FM radio and a light and a pair of headphones. Pretty neat. Now let's see what's in this bag here. These bags are the result of taking apart computers over the years and saving different things. A lot of times if the computer is no good, I'll go ahead and take everything out of the case and then separate the PC boards and recycle the metal, and then this is the leftovers from that. Just some regular power supply harness there. This looks like an old key lock for a tower or something like that. I probably don't even have the key for that, so why would you keep that? But that's, an electronic switch, I guess is why I kept it. A lot of business computers used to have those on it. Here's a heat sink with a little tiny fan ready to go on any kind of power supply right there, like that. This other thing is a little speaker, little internal speaker, kind of cute. It's hooked up, it's ready for the motherboard, you can see. A lot of miscellaneous cables and wires. Okay, here's another one of those locks. I wonder if I have a key. That would be useful in a project where you wanted to turn a computer or something on, but you didn't want anybody to do it. Maybe like my arcade cabinet, replace the switch with one of these. That could be a good idea. I've always been an LED freak, and I've always kept LEDs. But the problem is I'll probably never use them. Here's a phone wire. Here's a little board that used to be in a PC, and it used to tell you how many megahertz the processor was running, because some of the older original Pentiums had a turbo button on them, if you remember that, and they would run at, say, 90 megahertz. And then for some of the older games, like DOS games, you had to actually slow down the computer so the game would run properly, otherwise it would be too fast. And this would tell you when the turbo was on. You could like switch between, say, 50 and 90 megahertz. And it's pretty old school how it works. You could move these jumpers around to change the configuration. So I thought that was kind of neat for a little LED display. There's just some more jumper wires. Let's see what's in here. This is an old ISA video card. Looks like there's more than one in this box. Anybody remember the ISA cards? These huge. You can see the difference between, here's that Windows TV card. This is a PCI slot here, and then the older ISA slots. I would imagine it's hard to find an ISA slot machine much anymore. There's an old Orchid video card for that. So that's kind of interesting. I've noticed there's quite a few of those. Now this is also an old PSI slotted one, and this is I'm sorry, ISA, and this came out of a server. This is actually a dual card. Looks like a parallel port, an Ethernet card, and a video card all on one. And this probably came out of a server. Let's see if I can see. Hey, this was actually made in the USA. What do you think of that? I'm not sure what kind of server this came out of, but I know it did. And I had quite a few of these server cards. And the slots, there weren't a whole lot of slots in them, so a lot of times they would just put multiple purpose things on one card. That's what that is. Oh, here's another one. Here's another multiple card. And you can see it's got that heavy duty header on it for a server, no doubt. Probably an HP, I would imagine. And this is a parallel port and audio along with Ethernet, looks like. So this must be the box where I dropped most of the old server cards. Yeah, these are more of the same here, multi-purpose. Look at this one. Audio and parallel port. It's quite a card. How big that is compared to my arm. Some really old components in there. This chip on it actually says creative in France. That big old crystal for the clock. Huge. This is just an assortment of wires. It looks like I cut them off a power supply, or, you know, multiple power supplies. You know, it's kind of handy to keep some of these around if you ever want to do any experimenting. You can use these plugs and plug in like fans and that sort of thing in power supply. So I like to chop off a few and keep these around anyway. Let's see what else we got in this box. This isn't a real big box, but I thought it had some unusual small stuff in there. I really wasn't sure. I like to be surprised before I show you this box, so I really don't look through it before I show it to you. Okay, this looks like a power supply of some kind. No, this is... Well, yes, it is a power supply on a large heatsink. This looks like a is a driver board for maybe some fluorescent tubes that were in a copier or scanner, or LCD screen even, the CFLs. It looks like the mains comes in here, probably 120 volt. And then, you know, I don't know what that is without testing it. I would say it's a pretty high voltage though, because there's a 250 volt fuse there. Not really sure on that. It's sourcing pretty good size heatsink there. This is just a heatsink that I saved for something. That looked like it came off an old processor for a slot 1. I don't know if you guys know what a slot 1 processor is or not. If I run into one, I'll show you. But it's a processor that used to plug in just like an expansion card. And this big thing would be on the outside of it. Oh yeah, these are like a multi-card reader. E-Machine had a bunch of these, and it would take all the different types of cards, like, you know, the compact flash or the SD cards, and this would be the reader, and it would plug into a USB. This looks like a 1.0 USB. The 2.0s are usually double this thickness, so that's an older one there. Here's another style here. I'm not sure what kind of machine this came off, but you can see it's got 2 USB ports, and it's labeled as high speed, but I'm pretty sure it's only like 2.0. And then a microphone and headphone, and that looks like it would fit in a slot for like a 3.5 inch case. So this is still very useful. And you can see, I might actually save this because I've got a tower coming up. I think I'll put this one aside. But you can see these would be the headphone and the audio microphone jacks here. And this would be the USB 2.0 jack, and that's what the USB 2.0 looks like for the motherboard socket. And there's always one pin that's blocked off, and you can see that's right there. So that's what that is. Well, we got an old school power switch, and you know, this just plugged right into the motherboard, and this is what would start the machine here. It's a fairly old technology way of doing it, but still a very nice switch, worth keeping. Most of the stuff in this box looks pretty good to keep, actually. Here's a little micro switch. You used to find these behind the front cover of older computers and newer ones today. This one has marked reset switch on it, so this was a reset switch for a PC at one time, and there was a plastic button in front of this that pressed this. And let's see what else we have here. So I have a lot of those USB devices in here. I'm going to put this one aside though. Here's one that would go out the back panel that would fit in an expansion, empty expansion slot. It's marked as MSI, and if you know MSI name, that's a motherboard manufacturer. And you can see that there's status lights along with 2 ports going to 2 separate. There's 2 different USB pins here, so these are on their own circuit. Why they did it that way, I'm not really sure, but they are independent of one another. What is this? Oh, this is a stepper motor. Yeah, it probably came out of a copier or maybe a printer. And these are great for hooking up to LEDs and so forth, and making them for a little generator. I made a little wind power generator out of a stepper motor. If you look back in my videos, you'll find where I made a little yard thingy that spins and lights up LEDs for nighttime viewing. And you can see this is a 4-wire, so there's 4 coils inside. There's actually probably 3 coils in the ground. That probably came out of a printer. I like holding on to steppers. They're always useful. Yeah, it says 0.9 degree step. So, just more miscellaneous wires. Oh look, there's an external. This came out of a printer. I can recognize that. This looks like the a USB port that would come off the back of a printer. Probably recognize that. This is an old line filter. We used to have DSL here, and DSL was a high-speed way of getting the internet before cable modem come along. It was an expensive way to get it, but it came through your actual regular telephone line, and you had to use these filters that would help separate it out for the DSL portion of it. And to get DSL, you had to actually be within so many thousand feet of the substation for the telephone system, and luckily we were. But not anybody could have DSL unless you were within a certain distance. Here's another stepper motor here, probably come out of the same printer that other one did. Just a nice little stepper motor. You can reuse these too and do different projects with them. Here's another filter for DSL. Another wire. Oh look, there's an old serial cable. This probably, judging by the way it looks, probably came from an external modem that was run on serial. I can remember having several external modems that would run, I think they were like 1200 baud modems, if I recall. And they had, this is how you would pump the transfer into the computer. Just another cable in there. So this is the last little bag in this box, and then we'll be done with this episode of number 3, What's in Steve's Junk Drawer. I kind of like this junk box. There's some useful things in here. I see why I saved them. You can tell I really like these little lock things, these little lock keys, because I've saved quite a few of these, but the thing is I don't see any keys for these, so you know, I don't know if I have keys somewhere else or not. I don't know. So these are just miscellaneous wires. You know, they don't take up a lot of space. There's an LED. There's a reset button. So that's it in this junk box. Not too bad for one little box. I got another box done. I don't think I'm going to throw anything away in this box. I kind of like everything in there, so that's a good one. But you know what? I've got a lot more boxes to go. So I'm going to keep this up. I think I'm doing this What's in Steve's Junk Drawer more for me than I am for you. I'm actually getting cleaned up a little bit by going through my old stuff and tossing away stuff I don't want. So thanks for watching. Leave me a comment. I always appreciate comments. And we'll see you next time. Thanks again. Bye for now. That's a lot of junk there. Yep. Hey guys, this is Steve. Thanks for watching. Hey, don't forget to subscribe if you like this video, and be sure to rate and comment. See ya.